to our channel. Today, we are going to recap the movie Final Destination Bloodlines, released in the year 2025. The story begins in 1969 with Iris and her boyfriend, Paul. Paul surprises Iris by taking her to the Skyview restaurant, a towering 494-foot establishment set to open that day as the world's tallest restaurant. While Paul is excited about the surprise, Iris feels nervous about the extreme height. Outside the restaurant, a child is seen throwing coins into a fountain, which a security guard warns against, claiming it brings bad luck. The child ignores the warning and continues. Iris, Paul, and other guests enter what's described as the longest elevator capable of bearing 9,000 tons of weight. The hotel staff appears exceptionally excited, and the elevator operator greets everyone enthusiastically while describing the restaurant's features. Notably, he mentions that the restaurant was completed 5 months ahead of schedule, a detail that proves significant later. As they ascend, Iris begins experiencing strange sensations. She feels increasingly nervous and starts having what can only be described as a premonition of impending death, though not in a direct way. Her intuition tells her to leave, that something is terribly wrong with their surroundings. Upon reaching the top, Paul discovers that their table reservation was never made, which upsets him considerably. Iris, feeling nauseous, excuses herself to the restroom. During this time, the restaurant comes alive with dancing, singing, and celebration. A crucial moment occurs when a bartender opens champagne. The cork flies upward with such force that it strikes the chandelier above, causing a sharp piece to break off and fall. This piece hits the glass floor in the center of the restaurant, a floor that's half made of glass, creating a crack. Below, the building's structural joints begin showing signs of stress from the excessive weight, revealing that the early completion compromised the building's integrity. Inside the restaurant, Iris meets a singer performing with her young son. During their conversation, the singer notices that Iris appears pregnant and asks how far along she is. Iris confirms she's 2 months pregnant, but hasn't told Paul yet, which explains her earlier nausea and strange feelings. The singer gives her blessing before returning to spend time with her son. When Iris returns to Paul, he takes her to an open area and proposes marriage. Overjoyed, Iris finally reveals her pregnancy to Paul, who responds with happiness rather than anger, as she had feared. He places a ring on her finger, which is slightly tight but fits. Meanwhile, the same child from earlier continues throwing coins, despite the guard's warnings about the danger, that a coin falling from such height could impact someone with the force of a bullet. One of his coins gets caught in an air vent due to air pressure and becomes lodged in a fan. As Iris, Paul, and other guests dance, the crack in the glass floor gradually expands. The coin eventually dislodges from the fan, strikes a pipe, and bounces away. This impact causes a gas leak, releasing flammable gases into the area. At this critical moment, Iris experiences her premonition in full. She instinctively moves away from the glass section, just as it catastrophically fails. The glass ceiling and floor give way simultaneously, causing numerous guests to plummet 494 feet to their deaths. Iris attempts to save Paul, but he falls along with the others. The structural failure triggers a chain reaction. The building's joints collapse, chaos erupts throughout the restaurant, and a woman catches fire while running. She runs toward a vent where gas is leaking, causing a massive explosion that spreads fire throughout the structure. Iris witnesses the singer burning alive, but not before the performer saves her son by placing him in a protective box. Fire spreads rapidly through the restaurant as another glass section fails, causing the building to bend and partially collapse at the weakened joint. Desperate guests try to escape via the elevator, but it cannot handle the weight and catastrophically fails, crushing the occupants. The receptionist attempting to enter the elevator is cut in half. Others attempt the stairs, but they also collapse midway, killing everyone using them. The coin-throwing child manages to escape the initial disaster and celebrates his survival, only to be crushed by the falling piano. In the final moments, only Iris remains alive. She tries desperately to save the singer's son, pulling him to safety. However, both slip and hang precariously from the damaged structure. The ring Paul had placed on her finger, the one that was slightly tight, becomes caught on something. As she struggles, the ring tears the skin from her finger, and both she and the child fall to their deaths. The scene shifts to the present day, where we meet Stephanie, a young woman plagued by recurring nightmares about Iris and the Skyview disaster. These dreams have become increasingly troubling, as Stephanie has never met Iris, who she discovers is actually her grandmother. Stephanie lives with her father and brother Charlie. Her mother, Darling, Iris's daughter, abandoned the family when Stephanie was 10 years old. Seeking answers about her disturbing dreams, Stephanie approaches her father, but he provides little information. Determined to learn the truth, Stephanie visits her Uncle Howard with Charlie, where they meet their cousins. When Stephanie asks Howard about Iris and the disaster, he tells a completely different story. According to Howard, no disaster ever occurred at Skyview. Instead, he claims Iris simply went insane, began holding herself and others captive, and sent disturbing letters and pictures to family members until everyone cut contact with her. Howard warns Stephanie to stay away from Iris and avoid discussing her. But Stephanie's curiosity is too strong. Using addresses from Iris's letters, she locates her grandmother's residence. Iris lives alone in a bunker-like facility outside the city, complete with security cameras monitoring all entrances. When Stephanie arrives, Iris insists she enter without her phone and keys, precautions against the evil deaths that have been stalking their family. During their meeting, Iris reveals the shocking truth. The nightmares Stephanie has been experiencing are actually Iris's premonitions from that day in 1969. The disaster shown at the beginning of the film never actually happened in reality. It was going to happen, and Iris saw the complete vision beforehand. Iris explains that she used her premonition to save everyone who was supposed to die that day, but death itself was not pleased with this intervention. According to Death's design, none of those people should have continued to exist. Consequently, Death began systematically claiming them over the years, and now seeks to eliminate Iris's entire bloodline as punishment for cheating Death. Over the decades, Iris has researched and documented Death's methods, creating a comprehensive guide explaining how Death kills and why it wants to destroy her family line. The entity appears to be Death personified, claiming those who were meant to die but didn't. Iris believed that perhaps only she was supposed to survive that day, as she was the only one who received the premonition. However, her human instinct to save everyone resulted in Death's wrath being directed at her entire bloodline. Stephanie, overwhelmed by this revelation, attempts to leave. Iris tries to give her the research book to help save their family, but Stephanie walks out of the house. Knowing that leaving the protected bunker means certain death, Iris follows her outside to convince her to stay. As predicted, Iris dies immediately upon leaving her sanctuary. Iris's funeral brings the scattered family together, including Darling, who is returned after years of absence. Stephanie remains cold toward her mother, unable to forgive her childhood abandonment. The next day, while other family members attend a party at Howard's house, Stephanie stays home studying Iris's research.
The book contains detailed information about various death scenarios, cars, wooden objects, and other methods death employs. Notably, it includes information about airplane disasters, connecting to the events of the first Final Destination film. The book also contains the coin from the Skyview incident and newspaper clippings documenting deaths that span all the previous films. Stephanie discovers that all the deaths throughout the Final Destination series were connected to the Skyview incident. Everyone who died in the previous films was either a survivor from 1969 or a descendant of those survivors. The curse began when Iris saved people who were meant to die. At the family party, death begins its work once again. A glass shard falls into a drink, and although Darling notices and removes a dangerous garden tool from under a trampoline, it's too late to stop the chain reaction. A bottle falls onto a water pump, activating it. The accumulating water creates pressure that dislodges tools, and the glass shard from the drink cuts Howard's foot, causing him to slip and fall. The falling tools activate a grass cutter that moves directly toward Howard's mouth, killing him instantly. After Howard's funeral, Stephanie creates a comprehensive family tree, showing how death is systematically working through Iris's descendants. The tree shows Iris and Paul at the top, with their children Howard and Darling below them. Howard's children include Bobby, Eric, and Julia, while Darling's children are Stephanie and Charlie. Stephanie explains to her family that everyone should have died in 1969, but Iris saved them all. Since Death's work remained incomplete, it has returned to claim its intended victims. The families that resulted from those survivors should never have existed, so Death is eliminating them all in a specific order, typically starting with the oldest. The family doesn't believe Stephanie's explanation, considering her as unstable as Iris had appeared. That night, Eric is working at his tattoo parlor, creating a memorial tattoo for his father when death strikes again. Equipment falls from a music system, spilling dangerous chemicals, while a chain near a fan breaks and catches on Eric's nose piercing. As he struggles to free himself, the chemicals ignite, spreading fire throughout the parlor. However, Eric survives this incident. The next morning, Stephanie and Charlie rush to warn him, finding him safe at home. Stephanie urges caution, but Eric dismisses her warnings, as does Julia, who has also arrived.
Everyone continues to believe these are merely accidents. While Stephanie focuses on protecting Eric, Julia is struck by a ball near the roadside, causing her to fall into a garbage bin. A trash truck arrives and automatically loads the bin with Julia still inside. Despite everyone's attempts to save her, she becomes caught in the compacting mechanism and dies. At the family gathering following Julia's death, everyone is devastated. Stephanie maintains that death is intelligent and changed its plan after she revealed the pattern, meaning anyone could die at any time. However, Eric's mother reveals a shocking truth. Eric is not actually Howard's biological son. He was conceived through an affair, meaning he doesn't belong to the cursed bloodline at all, which explains his survival. This revelation devastates Eric emotionally, but it also confirms that the death order remains consistent.
Julia was Howard's eldest child,
which is why she died after him, not Eric. Stephanie explains that Iris's book contains mathematical formulas for escaping death, and mentions someone named JB who might help them. Darling reveals that, according to Iris's letters, JB works at a local hospital. The family decides to find JB to save Bobby, with Eric joining them despite his emotional turmoil. During their journey, Darling opens up to Stephanie about why she left. She explains that seeing Iris live in constant fear of death made her worry about Stephanie and Charlie's futures. Rather than subject them to the same terrifying childhood she experienced, she chose to leave them, believing it would give them a better life. The family arrives at the hospital and meets JB, a character who has appeared in previous Final Destination films. Some fans had theorized he might be death itself, or an angel capable of stopping death.
However, Bloodlines reveals that JB is actually the singer's son who survived the Skyview incident in 1969. After the disaster, JB found Iris and worked with her to research death's methods. Both eventually developed cancer from their investigations. JB explains that there are only two ways to escape death's claim: kill someone else, transferring their remaining life to yourself, or die and then be medically revived, which breaks the cycle by making death believe it has successfully claimed you. JB mentions that one girl successfully used the second method. She died, but was brought back to life through medical intervention, removing her from death's target list because the cycle was broken. With his own cancer progressing, JB decides to spend his remaining time peacefully and leaves them to face their fate alone. Eric decides to help Bobby by exploiting Bobby's severe peanut allergy.
The plan is to give Bobby peanuts, causing a life-threatening reaction, then save him at the last moment through medical intervention.
This would technically constitute death and revival, potentially breaking the cycle. They obtain peanut cookies from a vending machine, but Eric angrily hits the machine when it malfunctions, breaking the glass and causing a spring mechanism to come loose. Both enter the nearby MRI room to execute their plan. However, when the MRI machine activates, its powerful magnetic field begins pulling on Eric's numerous body piercings. A chair behind him is also drawn into the machine, crushing Eric between it and the powerful magnet. When a nurse opens the door, the spring mechanism that had come loose earlier breaks free and strikes the MRI machine, then ricochets to decapitate Bobby as he stands in the doorway.
Death has claimed two more victims simultaneously.
Stephanie, now desperate and realizing that trying to trick Death only makes things worse, meets with Darling and Charlie. Darling suggests they go to Iris's bunker, where she had remained safe for decades. Hoping to find sanctuary there, the three decide to make the journey together. Before they leave, we see the ominous return of the original coin, which a woman picks up and keeps, a sign that the curse continues to spread. When they arrive at Iris's bunker, they find it locked. Stephanie breaks down the main entrance to get inside, but this action disturbs the electrical systems. The light cables begin sparking, and Stephanie becomes trapped when her seatbelt gets stuck in their vehicle. She tells Darling to go inside the bunker for safety, believing this will protect at least one of them. However, inside the bunker, a pin falls and activates a gas cylinder.
The combination of the electrical sparks and gas causes an explosion. The blast's impact sends their vehicle tumbling into nearby water, where Stephanie begins drowning. A falling pillar crushes Darling, killing her instantly. Charlie manages to reach the submerged vehicle and performs CPR on the unconscious Stephanie, successfully reviving her. Charlie believes that because Stephanie technically died and was then brought back to life, the cycle has been broken for her. However, both siblings are devastated by their mother's death. Charlie goes on a date, taking Stephanie along for support. The doctor they consult later reveals devastating news. Stephanie had merely fainted that day, not actually died. They begin experiencing ominous premonitions, indicating their time is running short. The coin that has been a recurring element throughout the story becomes lodged in nearby railroad tracks. This causes a train to derail, sending it crashing onto the road where Stephanie and Charlie are located.
Both siblings run desperately, momentarily believing they might have escaped. However, the derailed train is carrying large wooden logs, which fall from the cars and crush both Stephanie and Charlie in brutal fashion, killing them instantly. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the Final Destination universe, hit that like button and subscribe for more movie explanations.